All right, we are all set and ready to go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to you all into the Gratitude Challenge kickoff call. This is going to be something really, really special today because, you know, if I have to summarize whatever I have learned in my journey so far when it comes to personal development, and if I have to pinpoint one lesson or one idea that made the biggest shift in my life as compared to any other, it has to be gratitude. Now, gratitude, many people just treat it as an intellectual exercise, just like, writing something on a journal, just writing what they're grateful for. But actually, this goes way deeper than what it appears on the surface. And that is going to be my responsibility today. That is my intention today, that I really help you to understand the spiritual, the emotional, and the intellectual comprehension of what it is, what actually gratitude is all about. And I have been thinking about it lately, from last month, because I know some of you have been part of my book club calls. However, those calls has been on a halt from quite a long time now because I've been working on making it a little bit more better, trying to do something, that can really just expand your experience. But then I came across this idea. One day I was sitting in the morning. Now, that's my gratitude notebook for this year, and I'm not sure whether you can see it or not, but I have been writing my gratitude here. Most of the time, I'm doing it. I'm just writing everything that I'm grateful for. And one day when I was doing this, I thought about it and I thought, you know what? If there's one thing that has made a biggest shift in my life so far, it is gratitude. Now, gratitude doesn't changes whatever is happening on the outside, but it changes what's happening within you. And we're going to see a lot of examples here. We're going to see a lot of demonstrations here today as we, go through this gratitude challenge. But what I want you to really, really, be prepared for, that set an intention pretty clear that you're here to surrender whatever views you have about gratitude until now. Whenever I study something, or it doesn't matter if I'm studying the same stuff, for example, I have this book here, The Science of Getting Rich. Now, I have read this many times, but whenever I am rereading this book, I never reread this book with the assumption of that, oh, I have already read it. I know what does it mean. Because if you go and study a concept with the idea that, oh, I already know about it, you have automatically shut down your mind about any new awareness that you could have gathered by being open and by being, let's say, ready to gather something new. You know, as a human being, this is our natural tendency that we are not willing to accept something new pretty quickly. Now, some people might do, but majority of us are not ready to accept new information quickly or even new awareness because our subconscious mind, our paradigms, our ego, whatever we want to call it, you know, it just wants to justify that whatever we know is enough. And that reminds me of a very powerful quote which goes like this: what we know is finite, and what we don't know is infinite. That is the reason why my mentor, Bob Proctor, has really emphasized the fact that you have to study every single day over and over and over and over and over again. Constant spaced repetition of the same ideas that alter the brain, that alter the paradigms, that alter the mindset. And it applies to every single thing that you do in your life, whether it's learning a new skill, whether it's practicing something new, or whatever you want to call it. It all requires you to really just stick on to the discipline. Do something over and over and over and over and over and over again until that becomes a part of who you are. And today in the gratitude challenge, we're going to cover the scientific side of gratitude challenge. We are going to cover the psychology and the ancient side of gratitude. But at the same time, we are going to really understand how to take it to a deeper emotional level. If we have the time today to really get into that part, I would definitely love to do that. If we don't have the time to really get into that part where I explain you about how to take it from a conscious level to a subconscious level of gratitude, then we'll be doing it the next week Saturday call, which will be the follow-up call to this call, because by then you will be halfway, not halfway, but like 33% of through to your gratitude challenge. Now, gratitude challenge where science meets philosophy. And it is all an inward journey, my dear friends. It's all an internal journey. We're not talking about something that is happening on the outside. We're not talking about what somebody said about you. We're not talking about why they're doing this or why they're doing that. We are talking about what I have to do. We are talking about what I need to do in order to improve myself, in order to improve my life, in order to improve what I am doing. And that is gratitude challenge. Now, this is a very powerful quote here. And I believe once we understand the deeper perspective behind this quote, let me just go back. Once we understand the deeper perspective behind that quote, our life can literally change like night and day. Now, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of wherever you are in your life, irrespective of whatever stage you are at your life, you, me, and everyone, we cannot always change what's happening around us. For example, at your workplace, you can't change the people around you. Like, for example, now it's the festival season, if you're someone who is pretty dialed in with your habits, you cannot force other people to dial into the way you are dialed into. You cannot force them to eat something. You cannot force them to think something. You cannot do that. However, you can influence them over a period of time, but we cannot change what's happening around us. For example, when summer arrives, can you change summers? No, you cannot change summer into winter. Vice versa, you cannot change winter into summers. What you do is you adjust yourself. If it is summer, maybe you try to stay in a cool place. If it is winter, you try to stay in a warm place. So what are we doing in that case? That's the natural law. Summer, winter, season changes. Now, I know most people moan about it. That's winter, that's summer, remember, I don't like it. But at the end of the day, they all adjust. That's the same thing we need to understand when it's about the mind. We cannot always change what's happening around us, but we can change what happens within us. And to change what happens within us, we need to become that person who is self-aware. We need to become that person who understands who they are. We need to become that person who knows how to channelize their mind. And one of the key principles to channelize our mind is gratitude. When we will look into the scientific perspective in just a few minutes from now, you're going to understand that if you practice gratitude over a certain period of time, it has been scientifically proven now that it really impacts your brain. It impacts your brain. It creates something more valuable than you could have ever imagined. And we're going to get into that. But for now, I want you to understand one of the pretty key concepts that is directly in relation with gratitude. In any given moment in your life, it doesn't matter whatever that moment is. It could be happy moment, it could be sad moment, it could be, frustrating moment, it could be joyous moment, it could be any moment. In any moment in your life, you just have one of these choices. Either you can react or you can respond. Now, if you observe most people around you, at your workplace, at your home, or anywhere in general, usually, go to like public places like public transports, maybe go to a bank, or maybe go to a restaurant or wherever, you'll see how quickly people react to situations. For example, let's say you are in a bank, right? And all of a sudden, the person sitting in the chair says that, I'm sorry, sir, it's going to take a lot of time because we have a problem in our system. Bang, we react. And we're like, I have been here for 1 hour, half an hour, whatever. What's the problem? I don't have time. You see how quickly we react in situations. And that happens in our life as well. Let's say you have a fight or an argument with with your colleague, with your partner, or whatever, and your brain switches to the reaction mode. Instead of listening what they are saying, instead of really paying attention to what someone else is saying, we are automatically ready with an answer. For example, let's say you had a fight with let's say your spouse. They're saying you something and you're like, come on, you always talk about this. You're always like this. Maybe they are like that. Maybe they are not. But if you observe it from your perspective, if you observe it from your standpoint of view, what you have done in that moment is you have let your paradigm be in control. Because whenever we are reacting, it's not us. It's our paradigm in control. It's our belief systems in our control. Or in other words, if I say that, it is our subconscious programming that is in control. Now, what I want you to do right now is take a blank sheet of paper right now. Take a blank sheet of paper, okay? And draw two R's like that, one on this side and one on this side. Please do it straight away, everybody. If you're watching us on YouTube, I would like you to do the same thing. If you are connected with us here on Zoom, please do the same thing. Just draw these two R's, okay? Now, because we are programmed, we have our paradigms. That's what most of us do. Because of our paradigms, we are unconsciously doing the reacting bit. Because whenever something happens on the outside, let's say this is you are, if something happens here and you have a paradigm in your subconscious mind, that triggers you. And when it triggers you, it is a moment of just a fraction of seconds. And within that fraction of second, you have the power to choose whether you're going to react or you're going to respond. It's easy to react, but it takes effort, it takes control, and it takes discipline to respond. And we can relate that to any different situation in our life. Let me repeat it. It is easier to react, and it is difficult to respond. Think about it for a minute. Think about it for a minute, what I just said, that it is easier to react. However, it is damn difficult to respond. You know why? Responding causes you to think. While reacting, you are on autopilot. And as a human being, we are a creature of habit. Anything that requires effort or anything that is beyond our comfort zone, we hesitate for that in the beginning. Think about the last time when you tried to create a new habit. Was that easy? Probably not. Until or unless you are one of those people who are like solid, who are like damn disciplined in their head. If they make up their mind, they just do it. But most of us are not like that. Most of us are not. Most of us are living the life based upon our paradigms. Most of us are living the life based upon, our habitual way of thinking. Most of us are living our life based upon whatever has been programmed into our brain. So in any given situation, you have two options. Either you react or you respond. And you know what happens? The more you practice being grateful, the more you practice being in the present moment, being aware about your surrounding, you will train your brain to respond every single time. But that takes effort. And you have to understand that takes effort, and that happens by law. That happens by law. Law of relativity, not law of relativity, but it takes effort. Anything in your life, there is an upswing and a low swing. For example, there is a positive and there is a negative, and then a positive back, and then is a negative back. The rhythm. But you know what? In your life, your job is to understand, let's say we call this a respond, and this is reacting. So in your life, your responsibility is to learn how to minimize this time. How to minimize this time. That means reach a state where you are responding, 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 and responding. You're not going back to that negative curve. You know why? Because you have understood, you have realized that by the law of rhythm, if I don't stay upward, I have to go downward. That's the law of rhythm. It states that everything goes in movement, swings. However, in terms of our life, in terms of our thinking, we can channelize it. We can channelize it. You know, if you talk about the law of rhythm in terms of seasons, summer, winter, winter, summer, and also there are a few more seasons in between, we cannot change them. But in terms of our thinking, we can change it. We can control the rhythm, we can control the flow, and we can learn how to respond in a better way. Now, I want to spend more time on this concept right here because if you really want to grasp a better understanding of gratitude, or let's say if you really, really want to become master of gratitude, you have to become a master of your reactions, your responses, which most people are not. Like for example, we let things put us on off track. Now, some of things might be genuine, but some of them might be, doesn't make a cut. For example, let's say you're at your workplace and you're giving your best, you're doing your best, but somehow, somewhere, you're still not getting the recognition or the rewards that you deserve. Now, what a common person will do in that situation? You know what they're going to do? They're going to stop putting an effort in their job. They're going to say that, what's the point of putting in my efforts when I'm not getting rewarded for it? And for 95% of the people, that's pretty much logical to do, isn't it? Yes or no? Let's communicate in the chat box. If you're watching it on YouTube right now, just let me know, isn't it natural for 95% of the people to just think that, what's the point of putting in effort? If you're here in Zoom, just yes and no in the chat box. All right? I believe for majority of people, it's pretty common stuff to just say that, what's the point of doing the effort when I'm not getting rewarded? What's the point of doing this when nobody's appreciating me? But here is where you have to understand this personal development philosophy, this life psychology, work, whatever you want to call it. There are different names for it. When you are putting in your effort, now that comes from another powerful book that I've been reading, which we will be definitely digging deep into more, into our book club, which I'll be discussing with you a little later on. There is a chapter called as Law of Supply. And the chapter in the Law of Supply, it states that, when you are putting in your effort, your results are bound to be attracted towards you. However, here comes the interesting line. However, that does not mean your results will come from the same channel where you are putting your effort in. And that sometimes really confuses people. That used to confuse me for for most of the years when I just started learning about this philosophy. And I'm still not master at it. I'm still learning. I'm still perfecting that. I'm still battling it. But you know what? Every time when I apply it, I get to a new level of awareness. I get to a better level of understanding about this law. For example, if you're working in a job in a company and you think that your company is not rewarding you enough and you think that you're not getting the enough value that you are supposed to get, you might start thinking about, or I'm not going to do my work honestly, I'm not going to put in my effort. That's where we go wrong. That is the time to double up your effort. Not because you want to impress your boss, not because you want to impress your manager, not because you want to show the company how worthy you are, because you know by law, if you increase your effort, if you increase the energy and the input and the intention you're putting into your work, there are infinite sources, there are infinite ways in the universe from where your rewards will come back to you. Now, people working in the sales, I always tell them that if you're working into sales, Do not think about that. Okay, I'm speaking this prospect. I don't know. I know it doesn't have. They don't have a money. They're not going to sign up. Ah, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to give them all information. I'm not going to give them the all energy. No, no, no. That's the wrong thinking. Even if when you know that the person cannot afford your product and services, give the best you have to them. Offer the best you have to them in terms of value. I'm saying that. You know what? You may find out that when you give value to this person, the next person who pop ups, you may not even have to explain them a single bit about your product. And they will say that I'm ready to buy it. Yeah, yeah, I'm ready to invest it. Here's my card. Please charge me. You see, you can never ever imagine the possibilities when you start working with the law, when you start aligning yourself with the higher frequencies. That happens to me many times. When I just started selling these courses, like, in the beginning of my career, I started working with someone. I was selling product and services for them. And on occasions, I thought, oh, I could have told them this. I missed this sale. I missed that sale. But you know what happened later on? All the effort that I put in, all the 300 calls that I have made to prospects, I started attracting people who were willing and ready. You know why? Because I was willing and ready. I was willing and ready to put in the work. And to reach that level of mentality, to reach that level of understanding about your life, you have to learn how to respond. Now, responding is an outcome of being grateful. That is so true. Responding is an outcome of being grateful. You can never ever be grateful if you're always thinking about what's missing. If you're always thinking about, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have the perfect environment, I don't have the perfect studio. When I started my work 2015, sorry, a decade ago, I was operating from the storeroom of my house. And that storeroom was so tiny, so tiny. When I have time on some other day, I'm going to share that with you. That was a storeroom. But the vision that I had sitting in that storeroom was so big. It was so big that it scares the hell out of me, but it excites me at the same time. But the only thing that kept me going was gratitude. I was grateful for my storeroom. I was grateful for the phone that I have at that time to record my videos. I was grateful for the laptop that I had that time. I was grateful for the mobile internet that I had that time. And later on, I have everything. I had a better studio. I had a better laptop, better equipments, better people I was working with, better services I was providing. Everything was growing. You know why? Because I turned on to something very powerful and deep within me. Gratitude. Gratitude. 2 years ago, it'll be 3 years next year in May, when I moved to London, I never thought about this 10 years ago that I'm going to be in London. 2023, boom, I'm here. How? Being grateful for whatever was in my life, but at the same time, being ready to go to the next level. Gratitude. It's really, really, really powerful. Now, I have took a lot of time explaining you this react and respond concept, because if you don't get this concept straight into your head, then your life is not going to be in the place where it has to be. So over the time, you will learn new ways to responding. Over the time, you're going to create your own methodologies to responding. For example, if I ask myself, am I really responding 100% in every area of my life? If I say yes, I'll be lying to you. There are areas where I react. There are areas where I really react. But you know what? Whenever I react, I have that conscious awareness that, or wait a second, I'm reacting. I need to step back and I need to respond. That awareness is very important. Because if you don't have that awareness even, then the things are going to be even more challenging. Things are going to be even more problematic. So learn about this concept, react and respond. Now, let's move further in this presentation today. Now, I want you to think about this concept of appreciation. That concept is really powerful, okay? That concept is really powerful and it goes along with the concept of gratitude. Think about appreciation. The last time when you was appreciated or when somebody appreciated you, how did you feel? How did you feel in that moment? If anybody wants to describe it, if you're watching here in YouTube, or if you are here with us on the Zoom call, please go to the comment box. I hope you can access the comment box. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, all right. Go to the comment box. If you're on YouTube as well, watching the live stream, how did you felt the last time when you was appreciated? Blessed to be appreciated. You see? You know, have you felt that when you are appreciated, there is a surge of powerful energy within you? And all of a sudden you feel like that, oh, I need to give I need to give more effort and energy into that work. Haven't you felt that? Right? You all does. You all does. Now, what happened in that moment? When the appreciation kicks in, what happens? I want you to think about it. When somebody or someone appreciates you, that triggers something in your brain, that triggers something very deep within your brain that is part of our human behavior. That if any human being is appreciated, if any human being is being praised for what they are doing, automatically they try to put in more effort. Automatically they try to do something better and bigger. Now, I want you to do this to yourself every single day. That's what gratitude practice is all about. Gratitude practice is about appreciating yourself all the good that you have done. Gratitude practice is all about appreciating what is happening in your life. Now, treat your brain as a little child, okay? Treat your brain as a little child. Imagine if you're feeding that brain, the little child, every single day with appreciation, how that child is going to respond back to you. How does this child going to respond back to you? That child is going to be like encouraged, you know. In other words, if you appreciate what's happening in your life, you're giving signal, you're giving current waves to your brain that is going to really empower you, that is going to give you even more than what you have thought is possible for you, and that is going to give you something really, really powerful and really, really meaningful. Appreciation. That's the key word here. Appreciation unlocks everything for you. Now, let's get into the real deal here. Let's strengthen our understanding about, the gratitude. Now, initially, we're going to talk about the spiritual aspects, the scientific aspect of gratitude. And then later on, we will be getting into the psychology aspect of the gratitude. But they both are very important, because some people understand gratitude from a spiritual standpoint of view, but they don't understand it from a spiritual or a psychological point of view. And some people just understand it from a psychological point of view, but they don't understand it from a scientific point of view or perspective. However, if you understand that from both perspectives, you're going to become really sharp. You're going to become really powerful. Your understanding is going to be on the next level of awareness or consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Now, let's have a look at it first. Gratitude. Now, what is gratitude? In my understanding, in my perception, it is a mental skill. Just like operating a computer, operating maybe, let's say, this computer, the PowerPoint slider, operating a bike, operating whatever, or learning to speak, whatever, just like we learn different skills. To me, gratitude is a mental skill. Most importantly, it is an attitude. It is an attitude that we need to develop. It is an attitude we really, really have to, get into. understanding what gratitude is, that's going to change your whole life. I'm telling you, that's going to change the perception you have about it. That's going to change, your ideas about it. So gratitude it's a mental skill. Most importantly, it's a way of seeing life. Now, when I say it's a way of seeing life, let's understand what do I mean by it. Okay. Now, when I say gratitude is a way of seeing life, that means it's your perception. And you know what? When you practice gratitude over and over and over and over again, your way of seeing life gets better. Your perception improves. You becomes a better human being. You become a better individual. And that's why I said it's a mental skill. And most importantly, gratitude is a way of thinking. Don't treat it as just like you know, an exercise that you in this diary. Don't treat gratitude just like something that you write on a piece of paper, like, for example, writing something. Don't treat gratitude just like that. Treat gratitude, now treat writing as a way of practicing this skill. Treat writing, I'm sorry, treat writing as a way of building that skill. However, it is way, way deeper than that. And gratitude really, really causes some major shifts in our brain. And science has already proven that. You know, science confirms that gratitude rewires your brain. Some of you who may not know about what is the rewiring concept in the brain, I'm going to give you some sort of ideas. So in our brain, there are trillions of brain cells that we have. And brain cells are programmed with some sort of thinking pattern and vibrations or frequency or whatever you want to call it. However, there are always new brain cells available in our brain. For example, let's say if you're writing with your right hand, if you're someone who is dominantly right-handed, that means your brain is rewired to write with the right hand. However, if you start practicing writing with your left hand, I cannot tell you exactly how much time it will take, but I can tell you for sure that if you're writing with your left hand over and over and over and over and over again for like 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, you're going to rewire your brain and you will become as proficient writing with your left hand as much as you are writing with your right hand. The brain has the capacity to rewire it. And gratitude rewires your brain and the way you think. Gratitude rewires your brain and the way you feel about things. Because when you're doing your gratitude, you're really, really paying attention to something incredible. You're paying attention to something what you may have thought few months, few years ago was impossible. And now it seems possible and you're actually ready for it. That's what gratitude does. It rewires your brain. Now, let's have a look at the scientific perspective of gratitude. Now, scientific perspective of gratitude, that's really powerful. When I was reading about it, when I was studying about it, to be honest, I'm not a scientist, right? But I have this a little bit of understanding of what does it mean. I have a little bit of understanding of what these concepts are. That's why I'm here to, explain it to you. I'm here to teach this to you because I know what these concepts mean, right? So the scientific perspective here states that when we practice gratitude regularly, it activates the prefrontal cortex of our brain. Now, what is the prefrontal cortex of the brain and what does it mean by it? Now, I know if you're not from a scientific background or if you have not studied a little bit about your brain, that might be a little bit confusing. But I'm going to simplify that for you. Now, let's have a look at here. The prefrontal cortex is the front part of your brain right behind your forehead. It helps manage thinking, emotions, and behaviors by using executive functions. So basically, the part of your brain that is responsible for your emotions, the part of your brain that is responsible for your thinking, the part of your brain that is responsible for your behavior, it is called as prefrontal cortex. And when you program your mind to practice gratitude, or in other words, When you practice gratitude over and over and over and over again, what are you doing is you're activating this part of your brain. And you know what? Whenever you activate a certain part of your brain, there is a chemical reaction that takes place. And due to that chemical reactions, there are certain, chemicals that are being released into our body. And when you are practicing gratitude, when you're being grateful for who you are, when you're being grateful for such an amazing life you're having, when you're being grateful for the amazing work you're doing, when you're being grateful for, everything in your present, past, and future, whatever it is, what are you doing is you're releasing dopamine and serotonin. Now, dopamine and serotonin are known for being, you know, the chemicals that produces well-being emotions in our body, that produces the emotions of happiness, the emotions of joy. And you know why? When you practice it, that's what I said. I didn't say that if you do gratitude it's going to be like that. I said when you practice gratitude regularly, consistently, over a certain period of time, this is when that happens. So that means you have to really get emotionally involved with the gratitude practice, because it's going to release those dopamines. It's going to make you feel better at a body level. And that is science. That's not something that, I'm just making up. That is not something that I'm just trying to, sharing something, trying to impress you. That is science. If you don't believe me, go and research about it. Google it. Use an AI. Just go and research about it. You don't have to be a scientist to understand it. You can understand these principles. They're pretty basic. But if you research about it, and that's what I will encourage you to do, go and do a little bit of research about the prefrontal cortex, what it does. What happens when the dopamines and serotonins are released in our body? What happens if they're released consistently? Study about it. Go and read about it. And you know what happened? When these dopamine, serotonin, the chemicals are released into your body, you become more focused. You become better at regulating your emotions, and you become more resilient. Have you observed those people at your workplace or in your family or wherever you are? It doesn't matter how the bad the situation is, doesn't matter how the difficult the situation is, they're always like super strong headed. They're so relaxed, they're so calm that nothing can shake them. You know why? Because they have developed that attitude within themselves. How did they develop it? Consciously, deliberately, over and over and over and over and over again. Nothing happens overnight. But one day, when you keep practicing these principles, it is going to feel like that it has been overnight. It is going to feel like that it has been overnight. And don't treat gratitude as something magical. For example, let's say something bad isn't going in my life and I just write it on a piece of paper, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to remove my pain. It's not going to remove my pain. Let's be pretty logical about it, but understand it. It increases our capacity to deal it in a better way. You know what? Let's say you went for a job interview, you didn't get it. As a human being, you will feel bad about it. You will feel bad about it, right? However, if you understand the law of the universe, if you understand what I told you just a few minutes ago, the law of supply, that if you have done your best in that particular job interview, the next one is arriving to you without even you knowing it. However, you have to continue your actions. You have to continue what is in your hand. That's being grateful. There is no magic in it. It is pure science and pure philosophy. And every science and pure philosophy teaches the same thing. That is the practice and the repetition of the principle that counts, not just a mere understanding. I remember I read in a book that no amount of reading or memorizing is going to make the difference. It is the application, it is the understanding and application of the wise ideas that counts. So you really have to understand it, apply it, and then become one with that. That's what's going to shift. Now, we have covered up most of the scientific aspect of the gratitude, which I believe was very important for you all. Now we are going to cover the, the spiritual, the psychological aspect of gratitude. Now, ancient thinkers knew that it doesn't matter. You talk about any religion, you talk about all the great people in the history, you talk about everybody who existed before the neuroscience existed, consciously or unconsciously, damn, they knew it. They knew it, my dear friends. It's just recently that science has started verifying everything that has been written in our scriptures, written in our religious books. It doesn't matter whichever religion you belong to. Whatever is written in the religion is now being proved by science. So imagine the power of those writings that were there before the science existed. Imagine the power of the mind who come up with those ideas. You know why? Those minds were directly aligned with the universe. And today in the modern world, when we have technologies, when we have techniques, when we have all the resources, you know what is missing? The patience and the persistence. People want things like that. You know, if I tell them that, all right, do gratitude, people want changes in 10 days. People want changes in 20 days. People want changes one day. That's not how it works. Even if you go to your gym, you will not see any change in yourself in 3 months, 6 months, 5 months, whatever it is. But you will only see change when you stick to something. And that's the same with everything. I remember the first time when I started learning computer programming, the coding, I was really bad at it in the beginning. But then over the time, I become good at it. I started learning about it. Now, let's talk about another example. You know, when I started presenting this information for the first time 10 years ago, if you have time to go to my YouTube channel and just scroll below, maybe go to a video 6, 7, 10 years ago, you're going to feel the difference. You're going to literally feel the difference. And you're going to say that, whoa, that's completely different man right now. You know why? Because I kept on doing it. It doesn't matter what people thought about me. I was grateful. I was grateful that I'm having the opportunity to be there in front of people every single day, whether through social media, whether through interactions with people one-on-one, whatever. I was so grateful for that. And it was patience and persistent. Ancient people know that way before the science existed, my dear friends. Now, Aristotle said that gratitude shapes character. My word, it does. It does shape your character. You know, when you're grateful for whatever you have in your life, when you're grateful for being in the place where you are right now, you just make yourself prepared and ready for any challenge that can happen in the life. Any challenge, I'm telling you. You know, even in my worst days, I still hold on to my gratitude. Even in my great days, I still hold on to my gratitude. And it builds a character. You know, when I'm always looking for good in everything, that shapes my thinking. That shapes who I am. That shapes what I'm becoming. And that shapes what you can become. And that's what I want to tell you. It shapes character, my dear friends. And then the Stoics believed that peace comes from accepting what is and then focusing on what is in your hand. That's a powerful teaching from Stoicism. You know, whatever has happened has happened. It is what it is. But the question is what you can do about it. For example, let me give you an example, and this is a very powerful example of how I practice Stoicism. I think it was in 2019, 6 years ago. So in 2019, I gave myself a challenge that I will be going live every single day on Facebook for next 1 month. And you know what? First week gone brilliant. Second week gone brilliant. Third week, boom, I hit with the challenge. That day we had a big rainstorm in the morning. The electricity was gone. There was no power supply at the house. I had no internet connection in my mobile at that time. And I was thinking, all right, I know the rain is stopped now, but I have no clue when the electricity is going to be back. How I'm going to continue my challenge? Now, to some of you, this may seem like a very small example, but to me, that was a big thing because I have to go out of my mind. I have to think what I can do. And you know what came to my mind at that time? I thought, all right, that's fine. I can't control electricity. Even if I get internet on my mobile phone, right? There's no light in the house. How I'm going to go live? What I'm going to do? I don't have any lamp right now. That's another thing. Then I thought, okay, what I can do. I want to go live. I want to do this session today on my Facebook. What I can do. Boom, an idea came. I took my bike, went to a cafe, ordered a coffee, take my gadgets, my tripod, my mobile, my mic with me, sit there, open my gratitude journal, start thinking about what I'm grateful for. And then an idea came. Why not you go live right now, right here from the cafe and share the story that happened with you today? And bang, that's it. I was live. I didn't miss that day. So what I did in that day, in that moment, I practiced stoicism. I accepted that, all right, there is no light. I accepted that there is no internet in my phone. I have to buy internet. I buy the internet. But what I'll do about light? I accepted that. And then an idea came. So you see, stoicism teaches you really powerful lessons if you really believe in it. And as again, you have to study them. You have to really get involved into them. Nothing changes in one day, one night. But over a consistent period of time, putting in effort over and over and over again, man, does things changes? Big way. Big way. So peace comes from accepting what it is, but focusing on what you can do. Accepting is one thing, but then focusing on what can be done. That's where the shift happens. Now, Buddhism teaches you always that awareness dissolves suffering. Awareness, being aware about it, being aware about your surrounding, being aware about who you are, being aware about what I can, what I cannot, being aware about that stuff makes a difference. And then Sikhism teaches you that everything that exists is understood as coming from Vaheguru's Hukam, divine order. That means every single thing that is happening in your life is coming in a divine order, either to teach you, either to improve you, either to make you aware about something, whatever you want to call it. These are powerful lessons. And you may not be able to understand how they relate to gratitude, but I'm sharing these ideas to really build the foundation for you where you can actually start seeing things from a better perspective. And that is the ultimate idea of gratitude. Seeing things from a better perspective, seeing things from a newer perspective, seeing things from a perspective that you believe never existed there before. And you know what happened when you start practicing these teachings? When you start doing gratitude, when you start being grateful for everything you have in your life, you know what happens? You start developing faith, something that is unshakable, something that is powerful, something that is beyond what you think is possible. And that is a powerful definition. Faith is an irresistible power that it enables those who use it to rise above seemingly insurmountable obstacles. That means the moment you start using this power of faith, how does you use this power of faith? Once again, being grateful for whatever is in your life, being grateful for everything that is happening around you, being grateful for every single moment. You know, I'm super grateful. Today I'm doing this session in front of you after such a long time. Wow, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for whoever is attending this. I'm grateful that I was able to put this message across to you. I'm grateful that I was able to create that, this challenge for you. And this is just the beginning, my dear friends. This is just the beginning. The real action is going to happen when you start doing this challenge. Now, I'm going to close this presentation for a minute. We are done with this one for now. And I'm going to pop up my favorite whiteboard for you. And then I'm going to do something on the whiteboard for you to really help you to understand something really powerful. Just give me a second, everybody. All right. Let me know when you can see the blank whiteboard. When you can see the blank one, could you please let me know? I hope the white blank board is visible now. Perfect. Thank you, Mitten. All right. So now let's get into this idea of gratitude that I have been discussing with you. Now, you know, one of the best book that I recommend people if they want to study gratitude is The Science of Getting Rich, the chapter on gratitude. I hope you can see that one. I'm not sure if you can or not. That's the chapter on gratitude. You can see that there are a lot of underlines that I've done on this chapter. So I'm going to read something for you. And one of the things, that's another key strategy I'm going to share with you. That one of the things that I always do is that if there's a particular book that I'm studying every single day on a consistent basis, I will have my goal card in that book, specifically on that chapter. And before reading that chapter, what I will do is I will just take out my goal card, read it aloud to me. If not aloud, just read it to me. Because you know what happens? When I read a goal card, and after that, when I went in to study something, I have already aligned myself onto the frequency of my goal because my goal has an image. And the moment I read it, the moment I study it, I trigger my mind onto a frequency of that goal. And then after that, whatever I am going to read, I will see how it aligns with my goal. I'll see how it really aligns with my purpose. I will see how reading something is going to give me an idea, something really inspires me, something really encourages me, or something that really pops up out of the book. And I'll encourage you to do that. If you can write it before you're reading something, even better. But if you're in a place where you cannot write it, just read your goal before you start reading something. That triggers something powerful. You cannot imagine it, how powerful it is right now, but it is really, really powerful. All right. So now there is a concept in this chapter that literally blows my mind away. Literally blows my mind away. And I'm going to share that concept with you now here. Okay. It states that the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word, that is gratitude. Now, let's write these two words here because these two words are the keystone of this philosophy here. It says that the whole process of mental adjustment, that's the first word. The second word is atonement. The second word is atonement. Now, if we start understanding the power of these two words, we will understand the power of gratitude, my dear friends. So let's elaborate it here for you. Now, when we are talking about adjustment, the whole process of mental adjustment, what does the author wants us to adjust here? And that's literally how I study when I study. I'm telling you, literally, if I will read a line, I will read a paragraph, and then I will start thinking about, all right, what does the author wants me to think here? What is he trying to say? Or let me think about my goal. The whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: adjustment and atonement. I mean, all right, you can go to Google and find what adjustment means, what atonement means, a little bit of it. But when you read that chapter, something powerful is going to happen in your head. Adjustment. What do I need to adjust in my life? Maybe I need to adjust, let's say, my behavior. But does my behavior is the root cause? What does my behavior depends upon? My behavior depends upon my paradigms. Okay, that's fine. But then what my paradigms depends upon? My paradigm depends upon my thinking. All right. And here comes the detailed answer. What does my thinking depends upon? My thinking depends upon my perception. So you see, the art of breaking down what you're reading now that's powerful. That's something really powerful. I usually love to teach this concept to anyone whom I'm working on one-on-one with, because these are the small concept that makes a big difference, right? Now, I started with understanding the first line from the chapter. In fact, the first line from the second or third paragraph, which states that the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word, that is gratitude. What is that adjustment? What I need to adjust in my life. I need to adjust myself. But what I need to adjust within me, I need to adjust my behavior. What controls my behavior? It's my paradigm that controls my behavior. What controls my paradigm? It's my thinking that controls my paradigm. What controls my thinking? That's my perception. And this is where the first change begins. All I have to do in my life is I have to adjust my perception. The more I learn how to adjust my perception, or in other words, the more I focus on adjusting my perception, in simpler words, the viewpoint I have towards life, the more I change this to a positive and constructive viewpoint, that will change my thinking, that will change my paradigm, that will change my behavior, and that's the adjustment that I have made. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that amazing? That's what adjustment is all about, in my perception. If I keep rereading this chapter, which I am sure I am going to, if you meet me next year, I will be able to explain you this in another better way. You know why? Because constant spaced repetition. When you read a book for the second time, you don't find something new in the book that wasn't there before. When you read a book for the second time, you find something new in yourself that wasn't there before. Powerful, isn't it? Really, really, really powerful. This is really powerful. And then atonement. Atonement is simple. It's directly linked with the adjustment. When you change your perception, atonement is like keep raising the level of frequency. Keep tuning yourself onto a better, higher level of frequency. How you can tune yourself into higher frequency? Working with the law, by understanding the law, by obeying the law, and most importantly, by really, really tuning within the law, for really, really shaping your thinking within the law. That means if I'm thinking about my goal, how can I attune with my goal? By focusing on what I can do, by thinking about, by having a visualization in my mind about what if what I will do when I have this goal, how I will dress when I am that person. Even if I'm sitting in this room right now, my vision is I'm already seeing myself in my next big office. I'm sure it's going to happen. If that has happened in India, why it will not happen here in London? Same law, same principles. How much time it will take, I don't know. But if I keep persisting with my ideas, I know I can manifest with them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like how. When I say how, I'm not saying that in an unlawful manner, obviously in a lawful manner, because I teach you the laws. Now, when we are practicing our gratitude, in 1 minute or 2 minutes from now, I'm going to get into the workbook that I've created for you for the next 21 days. I'm just going to show you how to use that workbook, all right? And then by the end of today, you will get that workbook, send it in the WhatsApp group, all right? But when we are practicing gratitude, remember the formula, PPF. That is past, present, and future. Now, be grateful for all this. For example, let's say you're thinking about your health. Be grateful for something from your past in terms of your health that you're really grateful for. Be grateful of something about your present in your health, or be something, about your future. For example, let's say I'm really grateful that 5 years ago I was able to play for an hours and hours. I was really excited and enjoying that process. Today, I'm grateful that I'm able to work on my physique. I'm grateful that I'm able to have healthy food. Future, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have developed a perfect muscular physique, or whatever you want to call it. So you see, past, present, future, everything. Everything has to be involved in your gratitude. It's never a one-way journey. It's always a two-way journey, and it's always in that way, in that way. Now, on that note, we conclude the teachings from today. Now, I'm going to get into the workbook for you. I'm going to explain you how to use that. Okay. I hope you can you see the workbook gratitude challenge 21 days to a new beginning? Can you see that, guys? Let me know if you can see that. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to just open the first page and I'm going to explain you what is there and how to utilize it. So this is how it's going to be like. This workbook over the next 21 days, every single day you will have one prompt to think about. Like, for example, on day one, which is starting from 15th of December on Monday, let us begin this journey by focusing on one of the most important aspects of our lives, our health. Now, as he explained to you, think about your spiritual, physical, and mental well-being. And then describe here, right here, that I'm grateful for. Let me just open the pen here. All right. And then right here, describe all the things that you're grateful for when it comes to your health. All right. Just think about your health. What are you grateful for? Just write as many things that you can. Remember, present, past, present, future, include all these three elements here. And the most important part here is thinking about why am I grateful? Now, this is what most people miss when they do their gratitude. They do their gratitude, they said, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm healthy. Or why you're grateful if you're healthy? I'm grateful because there are many people who cannot see, cannot walk, who cannot talk, who cannot eat, who cannot breathe. I'm grateful I'm healthy. I'm grateful. When I go to gym sometimes, it's not always, but there is a guy who came there on wheelchair. And that guy is on a wheelchair is doing his workout sometimes. Or yeah, there is another gun who comes with him to help him on certain exercises. But whenever I look at him, that reminds me of, wow, aren't I grateful that I have working body? Think about that guy who have legs, but they're not in the working condition. It might be because of injury or whatever, I don't know. But most of the time I see him on a wheelchair. Wow, I'm grateful. When I go to work, when I see those people on the roadside who doesn't have money, food, I'm grateful. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about those people here, but I'm just saying that I'm grateful that at least I have that stuff. And when you do this kind of a reasoning where you are thinking about why you're grateful, this is exactly what I'm doing. Most people just do gratitude on a conscious level. That means journal. That's it. They will journal it. That's it. And then they will think, why gratitude is not working for me? Why gratitude is not working for me? You know why? Because they have never learned how to deeply embed that gratitude in their subconscious mind. And when you ask this question, why? When you ask this question, why you're grateful? When you just compare yourself with, when I say compare, that doesn't mean you're making other people feel bad. That means you're just giving a reminder to your subconscious mind that I'm grateful. Damn, I'm grateful. Damn, I'm grateful. Isn't that powerful, everybody? I mean, this is so powerful that people can easily miss it. It's so simple and so powerful, people can easily miss it. This is where the practice is important. And I believe this 21 days challenge that I've put across is going to give you the momentum. Most importantly, it is going to give you the structure. And third, importantly, I'm going to give you accountability. Now, when it comes to accountability, later on in the evening today, I'm going to share a check-in link with you. It's simply a Google form. So what you have to do in that Google form is every single day, whenever you have done your gratitude, you have to mark your entry. And I'm going to see after 21 days who has done it most consistently. This is about building a habit. The more we build a habit, the more better we become at it. 21 days consistency. And whoever does this for 21 days, I will have something special for them. I'll have a one-on-one coaching call with them. I'll offer them some of my mentorings at a very special offers that I have never done before. And this is going to be absolutely incredible. And I'm sure you're ready to get into really kick on with this 21 days challenge. And this doesn't finish us here. You know, from next month in January, we are launching the paid subscription of our book club, which is going to be absolutely incredible for everyone who wants to get into this, because you will have more information like this every single week coming to you. And imagine how powerful it is going to be, you know, learning these concepts. I'm not one to teach you. All this information is coming to and through me to you. I'm just a torch barrier. The information is right there in the universe. What I'm doing is I'm just translating it to you, whatever I have understood it from. So anybody who will go to Amazon and get my gratitude journal, whoever buys it, you will have 1 month of the book club absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything for that. All right. So now is the time to really get ready and get into action, everybody. I'm going to send these workbooks to you today. You will have time tomorrow to make sure that you print it out. And on Monday, let's get rolling. Let's really get into it. And I hope you have enjoyed this session. Wherever you have been watching this. If you have been watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. And those who has really taken out time being here on the Zoom call today, really appreciate your presence. I know we've gone a little bit extra with time, so I'm going to save your questions for our group, and I'm going to save your questions for the next Saturday call, which will be more elaboration of whatever we have done today and some of the same concept, because I know some of people has missed it today. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It has been absolute pleasure to speaking to you, and I'm looking forward, you know, to really see you all doing the best you can do in this gratitude challenge, and really hold on to the level of consistency that I want you to hold. Thank you so much, everybody. It was an absolute amazing call. Whoever has watched it, please go to our WhatsApp group, share your feedback, tell other people that what they have actually missed by not being here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. And I'll provide all the information. I will provide the resources later on in our WhatsApp group today. Take care, and I'll speak soon. Bye.